More than ever, we need to focus on stories of strength, courage, and unity. Welcome to COVID Talks, a series dedicated to promoting positive conversations during uncertain times.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 24th episode of COVID Talks, Positive Conversations During Uncertain Times. My name is Anthony Rapp of PR Cision. I want to thank you for watching. If you're watching us live, I want to thank you if you're listening, if you downloaded us on the podcast. We truly appreciate it. If you do me a favor, take a moment, go to the bottom of the post and click the share link so you could share this post on your personal feeds. We greatly appreciate it. Tonight, we have a very special episode. We are honored and privileged to have with us President and CEO of the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Linda Baran, who will be giving us sort of an overview, almost a state of the borough type address about what's going on, how businesses are currently dealing with the pandemic, what she thinks the future holds for businesses when we reopen, and more importantly, very importantly, what the chamber has been doing for both members and non-members throughout this entire pandemic that we're facing. Before we bring Linda on, we're going to do our positive news headlines of the day, as we usually do. Tonight, since I think we may have lots of questions for Linda, we're going to keep it short. We only have two positive news pieces this evening for you. First up, while it may appear to be morbid, it's definitely not morbid. So this weekend is Mother's Day, and as you all know, cemeteries have been closed since this virus has impacted our society. But today they issued a release saying that Catholic cemeteries will be open for visitors this Mother's Day to pay your respects and visit mom, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So again, that may seem a little inappropriate, but believe me when I tell you, if you have a mom that's not here, it's very important. So thank you for opening up, and we look forward to visiting mom on Mother's Day. For our second piece of news, we have a video clip, actually. And the video clip is of a recovered coronavirus senior here on Staten Island. And he was brought into the hospital roughly 40 days ago. And Vincent Laganja, 82 years old, was discharged from the hospital today. So let's take a look. And shout out to SI Live for providing us with this video. And again, just a nice way to highlight positive stuff that's going on, even though, again, these are uncertain times. With that, I would now like to introduce our guest of the evening, Miss Linda Baran. So the chamber itself is an amazing organization. I personally have two companies that are part of the chamber. The chamber is there for businesses here on Staten Island in many, many ways. But one of the ways I personally think of them is sort of the lifeline. They're sort of the interacting or the conduit between the community, government relations and government agencies, and the businesses at large. So businesses, government, community, the chamber kind of brings it all together, makes it digestible, makes it easy to understand, provides resources, provides outstanding support for businesses, and does great work within the community itself outside the business arena to help others locally, as they've been doing here during the pandemic. I know they've been doing great things for even non-members, allowing them to be listed on their chamber directory, among many other things, which Linda will tell us about. But I'd like to bring up Linda. So Linda has been at the chamber for over 30 years, which is ironic because Linda's only 45 years old. So she began at the chamber when she was 15. But back in 2004, she was appointed the chief executive officer and president of the chamber. And it's also noteworthy that she's the first woman, first female president of the organization in the organization's 100+ year history. So with that, Linda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Anthony. Thank you for having me tonight. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming on. I know you have tons and tons of stuff going on, more things than you could probably even remember. But again, for you to take the time to be here with us, I truly appreciate it. Before we get into, the hard hitting questions, just give us a background. Tell us your backstory. Where'd you grow up? What's your previous career, and how'd you get involved with the chamber?
Well, I actually grew up on Staten Island. I'm a native. There's not many of us left. I grew up in Midland Beach as a kid, and I actually went to school locally here. I went to New York High School, went to the College of Staten Island, and actually my first real job was working for Pathmark, which was Supermarkets General Corporation, and I worked as a front end manager and as a behind the courtesy desk as actually account manager and doing all the accounting and everything like that. So, and then I was married and I had my first child, and I left that job and actually stayed home for about a year with my daughter. And then after that, I went back to work and I started working at the chamber. That was all the way back in 1986. Don't calculate all of that. I have two more boys that I had during that time, and I've always worked full time for the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce. But many years ago, when I started work there, I started as their bookkeeper. So, and in the many years that I've been there, I've done every single job that most of our employees do at the chamber, and there's not anything that I can't ask my staff to do that I haven't done myself. But during the years, I've grown. I've had wonderful relationships with many businesses because I've had the good fortune of working with many family-owned businesses that have been in business for years. And I've always kept my ear to the ground in terms of, business issues and how I can be helpful to businesses. And I had never intended to be the president of the chamber. That was something that wasn't in my, but it just happened.
Well, congratulations. You did it.
Yeah.
So about roughly how many businesses does the chamber represent, and what are some of the benefits before we go into everything that's been going on? What are the benefits for members of the chamber?
Well, we have about 600 members of the chamber. Most of them are small mom and pops. 80% have under 5 employees. So, and we do have all of the large corporates as well. But the main benefit of the chamber, I think, is really the network that you're in. It's really the expertise within that network. So it's not necessarily the organization, but it's the people that you get connected with when you're in the organization. We provide all kinds of things. We have a help desk. There's a lot of exposure for businesses that are in the chamber. We're really there. We're attuned to almost a union for small businesses, if you kind of wanted to equate it that way. A lot of people think that we're a government entity, but we're not. We're not for profit, and it's really a membership organization, and all of the membership dues goes to pay the staff and to basically be able to provide the support that we provide.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's kind of what I said earlier, and I don't know if you would agree with me or if you heard what I said, but I consider the chamber as sort of the conduit between the community, the businesses, and government and agencies at large. So, that's in my mind one of the biggest things that the chamber does, and one of its biggest value added as both a member and an outsider. We were talking offline before, and I had said to you, I think that now, since all this has happened, I think the chamber is at the forefront and in front of me every day, disseminating amazing information that's accurate every day. And it seems like while everyone else is slowing down, you guys have ramped up. You're putting out more content. You're doing amazing things to let the community know what's going on. You're even helping non-business members, non-members of the chamber. So how did what are you offering for non-members, and kind of how did you get and gear up to be able to do all this during times when other people are just kind of sitting back? How did you get such explosive growth during this time?
I don't think we had a choice. What happens in times like this is businesses are really looking for help. So, I was fortunate enough to have good staff working at the chamber currently who can really kind of adapt and help get the information out. We have great relationships with a lot of different entities, and we're considered a trusted source. So when people come and they see what type of information we're rolling out of the chamber, it's coming from all of the different people that we have relationships with, the different organizations. So whether it's government, whether it's other, organizations that we're involved in. But I think, we've been able to kind of ramp up. We do this on a daily basis anyway. It's just that we really had to make sure that the businesses are receiving, reliable information. I mean, because there's so much information out there. That's one thing that you see on the internet. You see, who do I go to for this bank loan? Or, can I go to one of these, startup type of companies or fintechs? And people don't know necessarily who they're dealing with. When they deal with the chamber, if we're giving them valid information so that they can make sure that they're comfortable in doing business. And that can be, the referrals for legal services, for accounting services, cybersecurity, all the different things that people are dealing with right now.
And what are some of the services for non-chamber members? So I mentioned, full disclosure, I'm a happy member of 2 different businesses. I love it.
Right.
But for non-business members, I know personally a lot of businesses who are utilizing your services, but what are you offering for them now during this period of time?
There's really 2 major things. It's allowing them to receive our debrief every day so that they can be updated on what's going on. And the other piece is, if you are a business that's open, a restaurant or a retail establishment, we are highlighting all of the open businesses. And the reason we're doing this is that, in times like this, we really want to make sure that all businesses succeed. Of course, we always want to make sure that our chamber members are taken care of. But, if all businesses succeed, they can hire people back. People go to work, they spend money in the community, and it supports the overall community. So we think that it's important to provide support to all of the businesses here on Staten Island.
So we want to give a shout out to Brian Licata for doing an amazing job. Brian's been amazing personally, helping me navigate issues that we had personally with my businesses, and also to Don Provenzano, who's the gentleman putting out that daily debriefing. If anyone watching or listening, well, if you're watching, I'm going to put it in the comment section. If you're listening, you want to send an email to blicata, BLICATA, at sichamber.com. And that's going to be the way you can access this information, this daily debriefing, and get the information that is not only timely, but accurate, because as Linda said, and as we know, something comes out at 8 a.m. and by 12:30 that same afternoon, another email hits, or another, news media outlet says, well, actually, that was wrong. The chamber information is right all the time, every time. And I don't know how they do it, but I'm glad they do it, because it's very helpful. You're laughing, Linda, but it's true. I mean, it really is.
It's fluid. Everything changes every minute, so we try to stay on top of it as best we can.
So we got a bunch of different topics I want to touch on, but I want to talk about the EIDL and PPE loans, and as the conduit for business. I'm going to bring up your webpage as well that highlights some of the stuff. But what are some of the ways you've been helping members navigate this unbelievable world of trying to get a PPE loan, trying to get that EIDL loan, understanding the application? What's that process been like for you?
Well, I think, when we first got wind of the PPP loans were coming out, my concern was, how is the business going to reach their branch manager, or the typical relationship manager at those branches, to find out about those loans? So that was one of the first things that we did, was we reached out to all of the banks that are members of the chamber, so that we had contacts with those banks. Because what happened with the PPP is that, unfortunately, they kind of gave the guidelines to the banks the Thursday night before they were actually letting the program roll forward. And what happened was, a lot of the banks, some were able to get up and running right away. You saw more of the local kind of smaller banks be able to manage it better. But you saw some of the, the community, not the community banks, but the larger banks specifically, they weren't able to get up and running as quickly. So we were trying to really get people the information about the PPE, how to apply. You didn't have to apply through the SBA. You had to apply through your local lender. And initially, I thought that was great, because I thought there would be a lot more flexibility in applying through your local lender, because typically when you go through the SBA, it just takes forever. And I remember after Sandy, how businesses tried to apply for money, and it was really a long process. So I think the intent of the program was to get the money out there right away. They did launch it rather quickly. I was happy to see at least they replenished those funds. That's something that we actually were pushing for. The disappointment in some of the programs, like the EIDL program right now, is at a halt, so they haven't replenished the funds, and only if you're like an agricultural company can you actually apply. So, but the EIDL loan program is really more for operational costs, and the PPP was more for payroll costs. And the problems that I see with that is that a lot of our members, if they're not operating at full capacity right now, it's really hard for them to bring their employees back and pay them. And they've been told, you can pay them, while they're out, and then just bring them back. But, businesses not knowing kind of when they're going to reopen and what's going to look like when they reopen, that's a hard decision to make. I think for a lot of people, I kind of said to them, it's a 1% loan. So you have to look at it as that's a pretty good rate on a loan. And is it worth it for me to take it as a loan? If it's not forgiven, is that something that I can manage?
Yeah, and so this was just something that came to mind as we were speaking, but I know there are still many, many, many businesses waiting for these loans to come through. Do you recommend that they wait, they reapply? So I know when there was multiple news coming from different outlets. So what's the recommendation and the experience that you have with working with chamber members?
I think the best thing, they've said that you can reapply, but basically you have to make sure you have that one, they're using your tax ID number. So you don't want to cause so much confusion. I think you have to have a trusted source. I think you have to find somebody, some of the banks, some of my chamber members are doing courtesy that if you're not a client of theirs, they will take you on if you open an account, but they'll help you. And I've seen a lot of the local banks that have really, they're working night and day to try to get people into these loans. So I think, the first week that it came out, it was a little bit of a disaster, but I think second round, more and more people are getting in. People are still able to apply. And I've heard of people getting, applying and getting that money back within the week. So I just think it's really kind of who you're dealing with. And if you don't know who to call us, and we can at least put you in touch with somebody if it's at your bank, or and at least find out what the status of things are.
Good. So we're gonna put Brian Licata's email up there again. So Brian, we hope you get a ton of emails. Brian. I hope you're getting a ton of emails. So earlier today, actually, you hosted a webinar. So I want to talk about that webinar, but then I'm also going to bring up the page on the Chamber's website, because you have a ton of webinars on there that people can access for free. What was the webinar this afternoon or this morning? What was that about?
It was really it was really on security for businesses. Now that we have a lot of businesses that are closed, crime on Staten Island is not as bad as it is in the other boroughs. So, but it was really talking to businesses about a number of things. So there's the scams in terms of the email phishing, the cybersecurity where people are hacking into Zoom meetings and things like that. But then they also talked about, in general, just making sure that your gates are locked and that you're not leaving your vehicles when you're delivering, running or things like that. And really just taking the precautions, making sure lights are on, so that, that if actually something happens, people will see that something is happening. And, the one thing I thought that the police chief said was important was that they're actually, when they hear the alarms go off, would they actually go during the night? They'll check everything out. They'll even take return ships during the day just to make sure that everything looks secure and that they didn't miss anything. So that, because right now with businesses being closed, you're at risk. So you have to be thinking a little bit more about, making sure that you're secure and that lights are on, so that even if the police do show up, they can see what's happening.
There you go. I lost you. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. No, that was me. Fat fingers. Don't worry. So I want to try and pull up this, because now all of these webinars on the Chamber's website, sichamber.com, they're all available for download. So I'm going to put it up again in the comments. There's a ton of information that's right here on the website, and it's available to everyone for free. So again, I encourage you to go look at it. The 15, 20 minutes that you're going to invest of your time to check out what they're offering and learn about what they have is going to be worth its weight in gold. Believe me when I tell you, because the information is important, and it's there and it's free. So there's really no excuse to not go and check it out.
There's a good one on there that's specific to like landlords and tenants. So like that's something that we've gotten a lot of comments about, having problems paying your rent as a tenant and also as a property owner. So talking about how do you negotiate, with your landlord so that you don't wind up in this whole kind of legal scenario. But that's one of the things that's addressed on there as well.
Good. So we just put that in the comments. We hope that later on you can see some major clicks and website traffic driving back to the website. So I have a question that it's impossible to answer, right? But I'm going to ask you. Right now, a lot of the focus has shifted, which to me is a good thing. It's shifted from everything's closed and all these things. Now the sky is starting to open, at least it seems like, and the conversation of reopening At
Right.
least it's begun. It's begun. I don't know if we're there, but in your professional opinion, with your knowledge and expertise and representing so many businesses, what does this look like if and when it does open? How do you think it plays out?
Well, we talked a little bit about this before, but it's kind of hard to really envision what things are going to look like. But we do know that things are going to be dramatically different than they have been in the past. And I think that individual businesses have to reimagine how they're going to operate going forward, and that has to do with what the guidelines come down in terms of space. How many, if you have a restaurant, how many people with social distancing can you have seated? Will you be able to have outdoor seating? I think businesses need to be thinking about, just their marketing strategy to make their customers feel secure and comfortable in the environment that they're in when they're coming into their shop or their business. I think, one of the other things that's really important is managing your employees. How am I going to bring my employees back? All of us want to keep our employees, but is our footprint going to be as large? And I think this has been a little bit of a test that everybody's had to kind of work out of the office, work from home. You started to see, what employees are working very, very hard, or at least not that all your employees aren't working hard, but which ones, are more valuable to you in terms of the workload that their focus that they have to support your business. So I think a lot of that is going to be addressed. One of the things that I think is going to be important is the kind of HR management portion of this. What is a business allowed to do, with their employees, taking temperatures, requiring people to wear masks. There's a lot of privacy issues around that. There could be legal ramifications. So I think that businesses are going to need a lot of guidance in that area specifically.
Yeah, and it was an extremely difficult question to answer, but I like what you had said just now, what you said, with me earlier about the HR factor. So I know I'm a business owner. I never even thought about that. Could you expound on that a little more? Because I think that's really valuable information that I would bet, at least right now, 95% of business owners aren't thinking about.
Yeah, I think, we see there's all of these different labor laws that businesses deal with right now, whether it's paid sick leave, whether it's, disability, paid family leave. And right now they have, if you had the coronavirus and you were out from work, you're entitled to an emergency paid family leave. That doesn't mean that you said that you had coronavirus. It means that you have to have a certified statement from a health department.
Documented.
Documented so that you can do that. Otherwise, you just go into paid leave. But I think, going forward, you're going to have people that say, there's also laws now on the federal side where if you need to stay home and take care of your kids, you're entitled to leave. So I think employers really have to understand that. I think that you have to be sensitive to if you're asking somebody to come back to work and they're not comfortable coming back to work, how are you going to handle that? What's the conversation going to be like so that you can truly understand why don't they want to come back? Because you can't just assume that they don't want to come back just because they don't feel like working in the office. Maybe it's a health issue, or maybe it's something that's underlying that they don't want to talk about, and if we have to take temperature tests on people, that's a privacy thing. If somebody has an underlying condition, or maybe they just don't want to do that. Maybe your employee says, why do I have to wear a mask? I don't want to wear a mask. They have rules about, you can't tell your employees
Everything.
to cut your hair or whatever the case
Right.
may be. So I think that these are things that are going to bubble up, and I think that we should be thinking about them because, as some HR issues can really purport lawsuits, and that's the last thing that a business needs to do is be dealing with all these legal issues when they're just trying to kind of make ends meet and they have a slim profit margin.
Trying to navigate, and then all of a sudden you're getting hit with lawsuits and legal things. It really boggles the mind. But you know what? I'm glad you brought it up because I'm sure, unfortunately, in the near future, I'm gonna shoot you an email or a text and be like, you know what? You were right. Wish I would have listened, or wish I would have thought of that when you said it.
Yeah.
So the major reason we began the show, or I began the show, was to highlight positive stuff in the midst of negative. And Chamber's out there all the time doing great work, both for its members and, as we mentioned, for non-members. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any kind of story, whether it be chamber-related, member-related, non-member related, of something that's happened throughout the course of this shutdown where you've said to yourself, wow, you know what? All this was worth it because this company was able to help that company, or because
definitely.
that young man. Do you have any stories that you could share of positive?
I got a call from the head of Richmond University Medical Center looking for businesses that could help sew masks for their employees. So I reached out to Nancy Nix. I reached out at Wicked Stitches. I reached out to Makerspace. My staff reached out to some community groups. We wound up with like 43 volunteers that offered to do these masks. All they had to do was pick up the material and send it back. So that was like right out of the gate. That was a positive story. We've had just the other day, Dominic was like thrilled because we had the Brielle, which is a member of ours. They ran out of cleaning supplies and they needed all kinds of things. And they said, it's great that you guys are doing some of these, feeding the frontline initiatives and things like that, but how can you help us? And all we did was put an email out. And then we had Brighton USA who dropped off cases. And then we had a member who's an insurance company that works with a distillery in Brooklyn who's making actually hand sanitizer. Wow. They dropped it off. The borough president's office dropped off alcohol. And then you see in the paper, you see like even the Beanie Foundation, offering PPE equipment and donating. And then you see all of the other, 50/50 Skate Park is making face shields. And there's so many different people that are doing. And that's one thing that you can say about Staten Island is whenever we have any kind of a problem or issue here, everybody bands together and supports. We support we're very strong on supporting our police, fire department, nurses, doctors, first responders, even the sanitation, whoever we can. I think that's one of the great things that we can say. We're different than a lot of places that everybody really, really like. Even when people are down, they're still trying to help others.
I'm smiling ear to ear because I couldn't have asked for a better response if I would have written it and emailed it to you. Because one of the things I ask and I try and get out is that we're the forgotten borough. We get beat up from every which way. But at the end of the day, what you just said comes through, holds true every time. We band together. If we need something, we go to our own. We're always there, whether it was Superstorm Sandy or right now, whether it's the chamber, a nonprofit, a neighbor, a local business, everyone comes together. And Staten Island is unique in that even though it gets a bad rap, we take care of ourselves and we manage.
And you can't wait on government. People, when people band together, they get things done more quickly, more efficiently, and it makes everybody feel good.
Yeah, so that's why I said I'm smiling ear to ear, and this is not a fake smile. That's a real smile, Linda. So I'm going to interrupt us for 1 second because each night here on COVID Talks, we introduce and highlight a COVID Talks Hero of the Day. So while we're doing that, this is the time for anyone watching live to use the comment section. If you have any questions for Linda, please put them in the comment section. When we come back from the introduction of the COVID Talks Hero of the Day, we will get to your questions and we'll present them to Linda to answer. And tonight, very much appropriately so, the COVID Talks Hero of the Day is the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce for just one initiative. So we're going to single out the initiative because there are so many things that they're working on, but the chamber partnered with Borough President Otto and a few other partners, and the Feeding Our Front Lines initiative was a campaign that is feeding or supplying, I should say, roughly 1,400 meals a day to frontline workers at Staten Island University Hospital North and South, so both sites. And the caveat to the whole thing is that in addition to providing the meals, the chamber is leveraging local restaurants to try and bring life back to them during these terrible times. So the chamber in tangent with borough president, in tangent with small business, it goes back to what we said earlier. They're the conduit. They were able to do this amazing initiative, the Feeding Our Frontline initiative. So Linda and the chamber, everyone there, we salute you and we thank you for that initiative. And I have you here so I could ask you a question about it. Tell us, expand on that initiative, because most times the hero is not actually here. So tell us about the initiative. Is there a way that people can help? Is it still going on? Is it active?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about it's active. We've actually raised $65,000. So we've been feeding the all three hospitals. Well, two hospitals, but it's 3 locations, but right. Since April 1st. So that's been wonderful. We do it twice a week. One of the things about it too is it's a grab and go meal. So if somebody's working at the hospital and they need something to eat and they haven't had a rest all day, they can grab it and go and take it home. That was one of the important things. But what's nice about it's a coordinated effort. So we know exactly what they're looking for. And what we're doing is when we're receiving the larger donations, we're really recognizing those people because, as you know, there's a lot of people on Staten Island that are doing wonderful things and providing food. But some of the hospitals at certain points, they get too much food, or it's, they don't really want catered food that's like everybody has to open and touch. They want things that they can just grab and go. So I think, working with the borough president's office, it actually, this idea stemmed from them. They came to us and they said, how could we use your members? And we have a lot of restaurants in the chain, but we kind of focused on the caterers that aren't necessarily able to do the takeout and delivery as much. So we try to use some of those members. That we've also recommended members to other sites. There's food being paid for and given out at the South Beach Psych Center, at some of the testing sites and other areas on Staten Island as well. But I think, if you would consider supporting this initiative, anybody that gives it, we basically give them some recognition. It's very well received by both hospitals. They appreciate it very, very much. I can't say enough about it in terms of, I know there's a lot of different things that people are donating out there, but it is a coordinated effort. So the food's not going to waste by any means.
Which is important, because I've heard this, and I know actually we spoke about it last night. We had Jamie Holman from Staten Island University Hospital. She's the director of gifts, special gifts, and she was talking about how to give and what you can do. And she said that people are doing the right thing; they're bringing the food, so we don't want to discourage or say don't do that. But literally, there's food that's going uneaten, thrown away because there's no coordination. So you coordinating it and getting it done is exactly the way it should be done. So, anyone watching or listening, they can still support that effort. We'll put the link to the donor page in the comments. We'll get that up. But for right now, let's just see and scan the comments and see if we have any questions. And if we don't, that's fine. We don't need to have any, but let's look and see what we have here. So shout out to Vito Canena. Linda, Vito is one of our first watchers and listeners, a great COVID Talk supporter. So we love him. Let's see. Let's see if we have a question. I have two small businesses. I did see a question in there, and I think it was from, let's see. All right. So this is from my sister. So shout out to Mary Rapp. So Linda, is the chamber a part of new regulations during the reopen, or is it planned by individual businesses? So I guess she means, do you play a role in the regulation here on Staten Island?
We don't play a role in the regulation because we're not a government entity, but just this morning I was asked to sit on, the mayor has a number of councils that are going to be working on the recovery. So there's a small business group. It was announced today, probably the names of the different people will be coming on, but I'll be on that group. And we also, the governor created a task force as well for the reopening. And although we're not on that, I have relationships with quite a few people on that group. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that so that we make sure that we convey the information. And what I am looking for is, yesterday I sent an email to our entire membership, and I probably got about 50 emails back last night with just asking people, what are you thinking about? Do you have plans already? I mean, what I got back was a lot of the larger businesses were getting information from corporate on how they plan to reopen, or at least their suggestions or ideas and practicalities. But I think what I'm interested in hearing is if it's not a one size fits all, especially for small businesses. So if your business is different, or you have some ideas of how you think that you'll be able to reopen in an efficient way, I'd love for you to share them with me. This way I can share them with the groups that I'm involved with. And I've also been in contact with Borough Hall on this issue as well, so that we're all working in tandem and messaging and making sure that the businesses are getting the right information.
So once again, I shot in the dark with that whole opening where I said you were the conduit, but that really seems to be playing out to work well. I wish I should have trademarked that. It worked out. It seems like it's holding up true. So thank you, Mary, for your question. And you know what? We don't have any more questions, but Linda, I want to just highlight our friend Celia Ayavasi, not that one, this one. Great show, Linda. You are great.
Oh, thank you.
You're getting a lot of shout outs in here. You'll see them later on. A lot of people are saying how great you are, but I want to shout out Celia because I love Celia. Celia's doing great things here as well. So with that, I will close the comment section. And I guess the closing remark from you, Linda, would be, what do you think we can learn from this on a positive side? Technology is working. There's a million things that have happened as a result of being forced to shut down. Let's face it, right? We were forced to shut down, and a lot of negative has come out of that. But you think there's any positive takeaways that we're going to learn from this that'll catapult us for the reopen and will continue to help us build going forward?
I mean, I do. I kind of look at this as almost it's survival of the fittest, unfortunately. But, everybody's got to take a hard look at their business and how they operate their business. It's going to force people to be more efficient. It's going to force people to realize. I've heard people already telling me, I don't know if I need an office this big. Part of some of us can work from home all of the time. So I think there's going to be a lot of decisions. I think it gives people a chance to kind of reboot. Look at our business. Some people started operating their business and they've been doing the same thing forever. In this environment, e-commerce is a huge area where we've seen there hasn't been a lot of businesses on Staten Island to be able to leverage that. We're going to be in a new world of takeout and delivery, and maybe it's not takeout of food, but maybe it's delivery of goods and services on the retail end. So I do think that the positive is that it was a learning. I think it almost kind of was a forced learning on everybody, even us at the chamber, we've been in the position technology wise to do some of these things, but we didn't pull the plug, so getting to do these webinars and actually making sure that our information, it's kind of like we're coming out and we're providing this information to you rather than you having to call our office to do that. And, you recognize as you start doing this stuff, well, gee, maybe we should have been doing some of this all along so people know the value of the chamber. But I think people are forced to really take a look at their business and again, messaging, marketing is going to be a huge part of it, but just the finances of your business in general, your general business model, everybody's going to have to adapt. And I think that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard on a lot of businesses, but I think ultimately, if you make the right decisions and, you're able to come out of this, you'll probably, be more efficient going forward.
So what is it? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Right.
That's kind of what it is. Just to sum it up.
I guess so. That's it. That's fine. You got that music. Can you play it?
So again, I want to thank you, Linda, for being here. I know you have a million things to do, and you just mentioned one that got added to your plate today with the new council you're sitting on. Really appreciate your time. I hope and I know that the people watching right now and listening are going to get value. I know the people who will watch this later on the YouTube channel or download it on the podcast, I know they're going to get value. I hope we drive some traffic to the Chamber's website. I hope everyone who's watching and listening goes to the website and takes advantage of those free resources. Again, they're free. So for you to not go and click is stupidity on your part. Let's just call it what it is. Go check it out. Register for their emails because they're pushing out great content every day that's not only pertinent, but correct. Believe it or not, correct. So sign up for the emails. And then when the world reopens, I strongly urge you all to consider becoming a part of the chamber. You can learn all about the membership and how it works on the website. But for the very least, for now, register, sign up, and take the time to learn more about what the chamber's doing. Linda, I thank you so much. I'm going to close out the show. I'm going to bring you down, and I'll be back with you in about 2 minutes.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So great conversation, kind of state of the borough, what's going on, where you think we're going to go. I agree with Linda that right now, even though it's a terrible time and it seems like everything's negative, you're going to take what you learn, and we're going to be able to use it in the future, no matter what it is, whether it's the technology that we're talking about and using right here, or whether it's something as simple as looking at our financial models a little differently to plan for something in the future. Not that you can plan for this, but to just have a little nest egg or something, whatever it may be. But there will be positive things that come out of this, and I'm sure that there will even be new industries that rise specifically from this virus. So there will be positive stuff to catapult us for the reopen. Before we close tonight, just want to quick PSA, let you know how you can keep in touch with us. Follow us at COVID Talk on Facebook. Check out our website, covid-talks.com. It's where we have all of the past episodes as well as all of the upcoming episodes. Follow us on YouTube at COVID Talks and check us out on iTunes or Spotify to download our podcast. And tomorrow night, we invite you to tune in. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a legal talk with lawyer James Thompson of the law offices of Scamardello, Gervasi, Thompson, and Casagran. He'll be here with us tomorrow talking about tenant issues, landlord issues, small business issues, and anything related to legal matters that you may have. We're going to encourage you to ask him questions. He's a good friend of mine, so quite frankly, I hope you ask him a question that will stump him because I'd love to see him not know the answer. And last, if you are interested in being a guest or if you have a topic you'd like to see us or hear us discuss, simply send us an email, info@prcision.com. We'd be more than happy to get to it, more than happy to get your topic on. So with that, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. This is COVID Talks, positive conversations during uncertain times. Have a good night.
Now, more than ever, we need to focus on stories of strength, courage, and unity. Welcome to COVID Talks, a series dedicated to promoting positive conversations during uncertain times.